You're watching Tyne on ITV1. Tomorrow night, the police are closing in and someone's starting to panic. Night and Day, the remix at 10:20. Now, later than Bill, the latest Northeast news.
Rail carnage. Claims the man whose car caused a rail crash fell asleep at the wheel. And tragic waste. The teenager who died after being bullied at school. Hello, good evening. A court's heard the driver of the car which caused the Selby rail disaster fell asleep at the wheel after spending much of the night on the phone. 10 people died in the crash when an express from Newcastle collided with a freight train. 37-year-old Gary Hart denies 10 counts of causing death by dangerous driving. Greg Eastill was in court.
Gary Hart was mobbed by photographers as he arrived at Leeds Crown Court this morning, 9 months to the day after the disaster at Great Heck in North Yorkshire. Friends and family of those who died, many of them from the northeast, had also travelled down for the start of the trial. Inside court, James Goss QC for the prosecution explained how Gary Hart's Land Rover and loaded trailer had been travelling along the M62 at just after 6 in the morning last February when it veered off the road, down a bank and onto the East Coast main line. He said a GNER train travelling south from Newcastle to London then came speeding down the track at 117 miles an hour and collided with the Land Rover. Mr Goss added that the passenger train carried on down the track, slightly derailed, but was thrown further off course by a set of points and into the path of a northbound coal train. Returning to the Land Rover, though, he explained the prosecution case was that it had not crashed onto the railway line because of a problem on the road or a problem with the vehicle itself, but because Gary Hart had ended up drifting off to sleep and drifting off the road. He claimed that before setting off, Hart had spent the great majority of the night on the telephone to Christine Panter, a woman he'd met via the internet after separating from his wife. He said Hart later admitted to police that she'd left him buzzing and unable to sleep.
And that case will continue tomorrow. The parents of a teenage girl who died after taking an overdose of paracetamol have been consulting lawyers. 15-year-old Elaine Swift from Hartlepool died yesterday despite having undergone a liver transplant. Her family says she'd been the victim of bullying. This morning, staff and pupils held a special assembly at her school.
At Elaine Swift's Hartlepool home today, her grieving family were making preparations for her funeral. Over the past fortnight, the 15-year-old had taken about 100 paracetamol tablets, leaving her with serious liver damage. Despite a liver transplant at Newcastle's Freeman Hospital, she died yesterday afternoon. It was all so different a few years ago when Elaine made the local headlines by saving her sister's life. She donated her bone marrow and helped Christine defeat leukemia. Later, the family spent a lot of time supporting leukemia charities.
She gave me bone marrow, and I don't know what else she did.
But Elaine was being bullied, first at the Brereton Comprehensive in Hartlepool. Then, a year ago, she moved to Dyke House School in the town, where she had difficulty settling in. But the headmaster said the school staff were giving her all the help they could.
The family made use of that. Elaine, in particular, was, like all pupils, was monitored in all the procedures. And I'm confident that all procedures that took place with Elaine were correct and proper and were dealt with at the particular time.
Elaine's father says he's going to launch a campaign in memory of his daughter. Ben Swift has been consulting lawyers. He's concerned about the issue of bullying at school, and he's worried about young people having easy access to potentially dangerous drugs like paracetamol.
250 jobs are being created with a multi-million-pound shipyard order. It's more good news for Swan Hunter on Tyneside after the welcome return of shipbuilding earlier this year. The latest contract is for the offshore oil industry. Now, yard bosses are confident a massive order for the Navy will soon be coming their way.
The order comes hot on the heels of the Global Producer, a tanker which arrived in February to be converted into a floating oil production vessel. The £25 million project was completed in just 6 months, and the achievement so impressed the American company Kerr-McGee that they're now placing another major contract with the Wallsend Yard. This one is to carry out modifications to a floating oil production vessel, this time for the McClure field, which is situated around 200 miles northeast of Aberdeen. Swan's workers recently started building 2 troop ships for the Ministry of Defence. The latest order will take the workforce to well over 1,000. Meanwhile, there's a strong possibility the yard could win a share of a multi-billion-pound order for 2 aircraft carriers for the Royal Navy. A decision on that order is at least 1 year off, but in the meantime, the yard's future is looking good.
Nigel Green reporting there. And finally tonight, a brand new community school is to be built on an estate that's been plagued by crime and vandalism. Earlier this year, Hendon, in the East End of Sunderland, was awarded £54 million from the government's New Deal for Community scheme. And part of that is being ploughed into this new school.
Now, it's not everyone's idea of how your first day at school should be. Rather than the crisp new uniforms, there were hard hats and reflective jackets. But for these youngsters from Hendon in Sunderland, it's a first day with a difference, because they're having a school built specially for them.
It's for parents and children alike. We're not just dealing with children isolated on their own, we're dealing with the whole community, so we can all work together to build a better future for our children.
Valley Road School, as it'll be called, will be anything but conventional. Open till 9 o'clock at night, it'll be used by the whole community and will include a family learning unit, a healthy living centre, an information technology suite and mother and toddler facilities. And the good news is that a quarter of those working on the site are from the Hendon area.
A lot of them have been out of work, and this is an opportunity for them to get back into work and gain skills that they can earn a living with on other contracts.
This is just the start of the work. The school won't be opened until next September.
And that's all from me and the Tyne newsroom for now. Our next bulletin is at 6:30 tomorrow morning. That's part of GMTV. Hope you can join us then. For now, though, have a very good night. Bye-bye.
Tyne weather in association with Northern Electric and Gas, bringing power to the people.
Hello there. Well, he was a Rear Admiral, but he was the first bird to fly over the South Pole. The wee touch of the South Pole in last night's weather. Tonight, it's a different picture altogether. It's very mild out there. Dry at the moment for most of us, but there's a good deal of rain coming along just in the next hour or two. Temperature numbers up around 7 or 8 Celsius. The wind, it becomes very gusty, up to about 40 miles an hour this side of the hills. Temperatures no lower than about 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. No skitey bits tonight then. So tomorrow morning, it's a guy dreich start, wet and windy for most of us. As we go into the afternoon time, the winds tend to swing round into the southwest. We see a wee bit of sunshine coming out as the rain gets out into the North Sea, and it's milder even than today, 12 Celsius, 54 Fahrenheit. And on Friday, it's mild, but it's quite rainy.
Tyne weather in association with Northern Electric and Gas.